What is going on, everybody? James Hancock here. I'm back to review Scary Movie 6, but they're just calling it Scary Movie. In any case, reviewing comedies is next to impossible because I feel like it's a critic-proof genre, which is why so many critics come across like joyless, humorless assholes when trying to write about comedies, because in the end, the only question that truly matters is, did you laugh? And yes, I did. Not as often nor as hard as I did with Scary Movie and Scary Movie 2 back in the early 2000s, but I had an absolute blast with this movie, which sees Marlon and Shawn Wayans returning to the franchise, which they co-created with comedy legend Keenen Ivory Wayans way back in the day. But we also have Anna Faris and Regina Hall back in action, and the movie's more than happy to make fun of the fact that those two continued with the franchise long after it was ripped away from the original creators.
Should we hug?
I really want to, but I'm a Republican now, so I'm supposed to be racist.
Oh, girl, I think all white people are racist anyway. Come here.
Okay.
But here we are in 2026, and all's been forgiven and forgotten, and the movie even manages to introduce some new blood like Ruby Snober, who I expect we'll be seeing a lot more of in the years to come. Now, maybe I'm just a sucker or an easy mark for a funny spoof movie, but I've been watching and enjoying spoof movies my entire life. Movies like Blazing Saddles, or Airplane, or The Naked Gun, or Hot Shots, or Not Another Teen Movie, or Team America World Police. But I think the original Scary Movie is a strong contender for one of the best comedies of that era. I've watched it many times over, and I laugh hard each and every single time that I revisit the movie.
Come on, hurry up, let's go!
I won't have anything to do with this.
Shut up!
Cindy, come on. We'll just pretend it never happened. You know, like the time we got drunk and we went down on each other?
So it makes me happy as hell to see this franchise's return, because over the last 10 years or so, there's been a genuine horror renaissance and a lot of new trends, and there's a lot of material for this movie to get caught up on. And I feel like with the recent successes of movies like Obsession and Backrooms, the industry is providing a lot of fresh subject matter, or a lot of fresh meat for future installments. But whether you want to talk about Weapons, or The Substance, or the Terrifier franchise, or Smile, or the Halloween reboots, or the show Wednesday, or Scream, or Ma, or Megan, Get Out, Sinners, Final Destination, Longlegs, even John Wick, you can tell that the writers and the directors and the performers in this movie, they're just movie lovers. They love talking about movies, they love making fun of movies, and they love recreating certain scenes and putting their own fresh twist on it. And while there are a lot of good gags scattered throughout this movie, it's probably more front-loaded with like the best material, but even so, throughout the movie, every once in a while, whether by accident or by design, they'll stumble into greatness. And the bit making fun of the opening credit sequence from Weapons, when all the kids are running through the neighborhood with their arms out to the George Harrison song, I was holding my belly, cracking up. I was rolling during that sequence. But this latest installment of Scary Movie is not exclusively a spoof movie, which is why I think it's getting into so much trouble with so many critics. The Rotten Tomatoes score is absolutely abysmal, and I feel like this movie's managed to get under the skin of some overly sensitive writers out there, because there's nothing more funny than making fun of people who are incapable of laughter or getting a joke. The moment someone says, "That's not funny," it's like, all right, well, let's make fun of you for a little while. But I feel like this movie takes a lot of big swings, and I'm not going to claim that all the jokes land equally, but irrespective of your race or your gender or your sexuality or whatever your political hangups might be, you need to unclench your sphincter and just recognize the fact, sooner or later, this movie is going to set its sights on you. And it's going to make fun of you and everything you hold dear, all your sacred cows, all the things that you think can never be made fun of. Well, this movie's going to just go for the jugular over and over and over again. And if that's not your thing, more power to you. Go see a movie that's more sincere and more genuine and more heartfelt. But for people who love comedy, once again, this movie is not the equal of the original Scary Movie, but I'll take a movie that's like 50-50, kind of like half a terrible movie and half a hilarious movie anytime, because that at least means I'm laughing 45 minutes out of the 90-minute runtime.
My God, he stabbed her! Not her! My pronouns are they, them. He stabbed them!
We back.
So you might be justifiably asking yourself, who is responsible for this latest incarnation of Scary Movie? Well, the writers are Rick Alvarez, Phil Bowman, and Jason Freeberg. And the director, I'm sure I'm going to mispronounce this last name, but it's spelled Michael Titties, and maybe I've just got filthy jokes on the brain after watching a Scary Movie, but it looks like titties. I don't know, maybe it's tides, I have no idea. I would say this is a very solid creative team, but it's not quite on the level, actually, it's not even nearly on the level of the original creative team, because if you look back at Scary Movie and Scary Movie 2, those movies were written by Shawn Wayans, Marlon Wayans, and Buddy Johnson, and both those movies were directed by Keenen Ivory Wayans. And there's just one Hall of Fame sequence after another, like Scary Movie 2, which is pretty uneven, but has these great bits, like when they're making fun of that Nike commercial and suddenly it turns into like a haunted house scene with a basketball. Or the very end when it turns into a Charlie's Angels spoof. And I love the fact that these movies are willing to, whether it's like in the new one making fun of John Wick or Scary Movie 2 making fun of Charlie's Angels, you can just tell anything and everything that's like a popular trend in movies and pop culture. It's all fair game.
Woo, okay.
And even Scary Movie 3 managed to have its moments, like the scene when Pam Anderson and Jenny McCarthy, the queens of Playboy in the 1990s, are doing a scene that's supposed to make fun of the ring and the tape that's floating around that's killing people, and it suddenly turns into a joke about the Pam Anderson sex tape.
Have you heard about this videotape? The one where they do it on the boat, and then in the car, and then in the bathtub, and he's like, "Hey baby, I love you," and she's like, "Where are we?" And did you see this?
No, not that tape.
I thought that shit was fucking hilarious, and all those movies can be found on the Paramount Plus app. However, if you're a physical media junkie, I recommend picking up the old Blu-ray, which has 1, 2, and 3 in one fell swoop. But also, if you're a total nerd, you can collect the DVDs as well. I got the DVD for 1, 2, and 3 here, as well as an unopened copy of just the first one. I don't know why I never opened it. In any case, get the Blu-ray. But 4 and 5, barely even remember. Like I think I saw them in a state of chemically altered consciousness. But if anybody out there thinks that 4 and 5 are worth revisiting, I'm always on the lookout for good comedy recommendations. But even if this movie doesn't manage the impossible feat of remaining hysterically funny from start to finish, which admittedly is incredibly rare within the comedy genre, even your favorite comedies have some dead air. But I love seeing some familiar faces from the Wayans family dynasty, like Kim Wayans, who I used to see on In Living Color back in the early 90s.
Bitch, we on break, so you handle yours. I'll be right over here eating my falafel and my pork rinds, bitch.
But as they poke fun at it in this movie, there are a lot of members of the Wayans family dynasty. So we get Damon Wayans Jr. in here. I would have loved to have seen the original Damon Wayans, but I don't know if he does any sort of acting or comedy anymore. But we also have Greg Wayans in here. And so as far as I'm concerned, the Wayans family tree can make comedies until the end of time because they've been making me laugh since the late 80s.
We're here to drink, play bad music, do some half gay shit.
Why just half gay?
Starting with I'm Gonna Get You Sucker in 1988, which was directed by Keenan Ivory Wayans, but then he went on to do a Low Down Dirty Shame, Scary Movie, Scary Movie 2, White Chicks, Little Man, and I would love to see Keenan Ivory Wayans direct one more movie before he totally retires, but I feel like if he feels like he's said all he has to say within the comedy genre, I get it. His reputation within this genre is secure for all time. So the question now is, how is the audience going to respond to this movie? Because the critics have spoken. They've been ripping this movie a new asshole over the last couple of days. They hate it, but that doesn't really matter if enough people show up and end up enjoying the movie, laughing, having a good time, and telling their friends about it. And I think people like in their 40s and 50s who fondly remember the early Scary Movie movies from the early 2000s, they will show up. But let's say you're an 18-year-old horror junkie. Like, is this even a movie that's on your radar, on your wavelength, or something that people are looking forward to? I really have no idea. I can only speak for myself. I laughed. My audience laughed. I would say my theater is probably about 2/3 of the way full. But I didn't really get an idea of the age group in attendance. I really have no idea. But judging from the response that I saw in the theater today, there's no reason whatsoever why this movie shouldn't go on to become a commercial success. I'm not saying it's going to be a smash like the early movies, but it should be commercially successful. But I should also admit that I'm totally biased because I'm rooting for this movie. I'm shamelessly rooting for this movie because anytime somebody makes a hard R, kind of transgressive, offensive comedy with a lot of kind of crude, vulgar humor that I respond to, well, of course I want that movie to do well because I want a lot more movies like that to be made. I got spoiled rotten in the 1990s where I think like 33% of all movies being made by Hollywood were comedies, which meant that we got subjected to a lot of terrible comedies, but it also meant that Hollywood got a lot of turns at bat, and we got a lot of great comedies. And we got every kind of comedy that you could possibly conceive of, and I thought that trend would go on forever. Sadly, that era, like any era, eventually came to a close, but maybe if Scary Movie makes enough money, maybe at least Marlon Wayans and Shawn Wayans can reunite for yet another movie in the not-so-distant future, because those two guys are way too goddamn funny to sit on the sidelines. There's a scene in this movie, and I don't want to try to recreate any of the comedy. That would be a foolish endeavor. But there's a scene in this movie where Shawn Wayans is recreating a scene from Sinners, where he goes up on to the front of the church, and he's basically trying to pray the gay away. And oh my Lord, he just... no matter what he says or does, he keeps kind of reverting back to his North Pole. And I was just, screaming, crying, rubbing my cheeks, and I was laughing so goddamn hard. And that's just a different experience from any other kind of movie out there. Like I love, big, thrilling, historical epic, and I love, kinky, erotic thrillers, and I love all kinds of movies. But there's something about what laughter does to you, where you just feel so goddamn good. You get so much out of your system. It's a little bit like when a group of friends goes to a comedy club, laughs hard, and then goes out to dinner afterwards. Everybody's just in the best possible mood. Like, where are we going next? Where are we going next? Comedy is like medicine. It heals the world. It heals the soul. It can heal the universe. And we need a lot more of them. And I feel like, how can I say this without getting up on my high horse? But I feel like the last 10 years, I think one of the crippling flaws of our pop cultural landscape in the movie industry has been an aversion to the comedy genre. And I feel like if you want to heal the world's woes, empower people like Shawn Wayans and Marlon Wayans to do what they do on a more frequent basis. So that's all I'm going to say when it comes to, social issues and social commentary and comedy's role and that sort of thing. I'm a big believer in the comedy genre, and I just want a lot more comedies to get made. So if you enjoy the comedy genre as much as I do, go see Scary Movie.
Ghostface is still killing folks.
You know what they say about the crazy ones? They got the best.
And I'm not going to say support Scary Movie, because if a movie's entertaining, it doesn't need support. It just needs awareness. It needs marketing. It needs word of mouth. And I'm just going to say that Scary Movie 6 more specifically, is pretty goddamn funny. Is it the funniest movie I've ever seen? Not remotely. Is it the funniest movie of the franchise? Not remotely. But I laughed hard for half of it, and that's enough. So I think I'm going to bring this video to a close. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, subscribing, hitting that notification bell. You know the drill, but I hope everybody has a great weekend at the movies, and I look forward to tackling the box office on Sunday. But more importantly, as always, onwards and upwards.